So you just finished Ultra Kill for the 15th time, played every game in Funk's movement shooter series, yet you still feel empty inside. Well, that's probably a larger issue, but to help with the lack of movement games thing, I've spent the last month sifting through Steam's extensive library to find 3 movement games. 3 good movement games you can confidently get excited for. I'll be covering my favorite features, where they're at in development, the release dates, as well as things I'd like to see added. Alright, I can see you frothing at the mouth waiting to hear these so-called new movement games, so let's move on to the first one. Developed by Alexei Captain Sai, Shady Knight is a lot of things. A platformer, a hack and slash, a Souls-like apparently, but in the words of the solo developer, Shady Knight is a way to experience the power fantasy of becoming the most masterful knight, who can turn anything into a weapon and stand one against many without a scratch. I prefer medieval John Wick, but you know, we can go with that. So let's break down this description. Turn anything into a weapon.
One, two, three,
Yeah, they weren't kidding. This is probably my favorite part of this game. Coming into this blind, it looks quite shallow. You get a sword, you get a chain dagger, go nuts. This is until you accidentally kick an enemy into a wall of spikes you'd previously assumed was just set dressing, and all of a sudden you start looking at the world differently. The entire stage becomes a playground for murder. I don't like that wording. A self-expression wonderland. Nah, I'll do. A level that previously only had one solution opens up and gives you the tools to complete it in whatever gruesome way you desire. It's this freedom that makes this next choice so smart.
That's the fucking star meter, baby!
This ties perfectly into the previous mechanics. Your first instinct might be to kill everything as fast as you can, but as you finish the level in what feels like record time, only to be presented with a silver medal and the middle finger, you start asking a few questions. So what can we do to increase your score? Well, let me give you a few tips. You can kick enemies into all sorts of things. You can kick all sorts of things into enemies. You can kick your sword. You can jump off your sword. Slam the ground with your sword. You can kick enemies. You can kick planks. You get the idea. You can do a lot. So try everything, and you might just get the fabled Triple S rank. This combined with an incredible art style and great audio design makes one of the most promising demos I've played so far. I'd love to see a few bosses as well. I feel like there's lots of potential for highly interactive boss battles where the player is required to utilize every part of their kit to take them down. My mind goes to those old Minecraft block bosses where you shoot the weak spots, and the Divine Dragon fight from Sekiro, which has heavy grapple usage. As for a release date, it's to be announced, but I cannot recommend more that you go and play this demo. It's a lot of fun, and if you like any of these games, you will love this one. Another solo developer, Funky Armor Studios' Coastline is an odd case. But before we get into that whole can of worms, let's first talk about what I liked about it. The main focus of the game is movement.
He said it!
With most of the combat being tied in with some sort of mechanic, whether that's role-playing as Doomfist or using an enchanted trident with Riptide. You've also got your main offenders thrown into the mix as well. But the question is, what's the story? Well, here's where it gets a bit strange. You see, the demo is not very good. The story is outright missing, half the movement is very clunky, and I have no idea what the game's about. So why are you mentioning it then, you idiot? I hear you yell at your monitor angrily. Well, that's because all these issues are fixed. I see you're confused. Let me explain. So the latest version of the demo was released in July 2022, around 8 months ago. His most recent devlog was released 1 month after, in which he addressed every major problem players like myself had. So instead of describing the game based on the current demo, I'll mention the main issues and what he did to fix them. The story is outright missing. As it is now, yeah, the story is pretty bare and confusing. You wake up on a beach, do some parkour, then get taken to your salvation. Yeah, that's it. But why? There's been no indication of why we're here or what we're doing. Who is this big obelisk? What do they want? And why the hell are these bricks following me around? Well, as much as I'd love to give you a proper answer for this one, the dev never responded to my email, so we're just gonna have to take his word for it that
I got the entire story written out coherently, and even a little in-game cinematic to kick off the story. But also
the next, albeit minor problem, was some of the movement. The trident was locked to the X and Y axis, which felt really restrictive. He fixed it. The slide just sucked. You couldn't activate it in the air, and it was set to toggle instead of hold. He fixed it. It is a bit of a shame that these fixes aren't in the current version, though if it's all smooth sailing, then we'll only have to wait till November to get our grubby little hands on it. Either way, I'm really looking forward to this one. He talks about a lot more stuff in the devlog, which I won't be going over here, so feel free to watch it after you played the demo. After all the criticism, I still recommend giving it a go. Now before we get to the third game, there's a few more games that I wanted to mention that didn't really fit my criteria, so here they are in a sort of honorable mentions segment. Glass Wings is a third-person Mirror's Edge. Their motto is, no combat, no story, just run. A very bold choice, and one I'm not so sure about, though that doesn't mean this demo wasn't fun. Unfazed. Being able to actually see the actions your character is doing makes it far more interesting to watch, and the lack of story, I mean, really, is it a loss? I'm just saying, if Mirror's Edge didn't have a story, would you really care? Do you even remember the story? Only having one level, the demo is very short, but apparently it's set to release this year, which, well, is unlikely, but either way, I'm still quite keen for it. Have you ever thought, hey, what if they made Mario Kart, but parkour? Well, probably not, but that's called Sparkour. And me and a few friends hopped into a match, and I gotta say, it's alright. I can't hear the game. Okay, I can.
Oh, there it is. Oh, I hear the game too much.
Yeah, let me just turn that down real quick. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. It wasn't really their cup of tea, but hey, I had fun. Get fucked. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like it's going to be developed any further, since the latest version is from 2017, but if you're looking for a game to play with the boys on a Wednesday night, then look no further than Sparkour. But if chill solo games are more your style, then maybe you might like Valley Peaks. Now don't let this cute art style fool you. This is a movement game. Kinda. In this game, you're sent from the big city to install radios on top of mountains, but the only way to reach the peak is to climb them. The mechanics are done well, climbing feels good, and there's 3 different difficulties for each mountain. I think this game is more aimed towards newer gamers and not movement lords like you and me, but even as a demo, there's a solid amount of content for you to enjoy, so I recommend at least giving it a try. You wake up in a seemingly abandoned science lab where... Wait, hang on, I'm starting to see a pattern here. I should call this video talking about video game demos where you wake up in location, I don't know, you pick. Anyway, this next game is a Portal-like, developed by Back to the Future, a team of 5 university students. The game's called Invertigo. You wake up in an abandoned science lab where you're sent to retrieve a gun that lets you pick which surface you want to be the floor. And goddamn is this fun to do. The levels are designed in a way that requires you to change gravity to either solve puzzles or reach an objective. There's something so satisfying about learning the course and perfectly timing gravity changes over and over till you reach the end gate. And the best part? This little number up here. This one. The timer. This feature single-handedly made me play this 30-minute demo for 3 whole hours. I played until I got the highest score on every level, and sure there might have only been like 30 people on the scoreboard, but I still did it. And you know what? I'm gonna check back in a week, and if there's not at least 100 people that have beaten my scores, I'll be very disappointed in you guys, alright? But yes, what I'm trying to say is that this game has huge replayability if you're competitive, but is also enjoyable enough to be a chill puzzle game with a fun, unique mechanic. One thing I did feel was missing was the story, which is partly my fault, but could also be caused by the feature I was praising so much. Now I don't know if this was just a me thing, but I found myself skipping many of the lore and hidden areas in favor of going fast, even on levels I hadn't played before. I ended up going back and playing it slower, but that should be something the player does in the first playthrough. Worry not, however, I've come up with a couple suggestions that may or may not solve this issue. Number 1 is implement a separate challenge mode that the player unlocks either level by level or once they finish the game normally. Number 2, and my preferred option, why not turn the timer and scoreboard into an in-world feature? In the starting pod, you could include the player's score as well as the times of the top 5 to 10 subjects. Above the door you could add a timer, and once you reach the end of the level, it could display the final time as well as another scoreboard with a button to continue or replay the level. Now something else I'd like to see added is some alternative paths that are tighter and harder to pull off, that reward good timing and precise movement. Also maybe some stage hazards as well to force player to react quickly to avoid them. Either way, I'm really keen to see where this one goes. The visuals manage to be unique in an oversaturated market, and they seem to be quite active in their development. So go download it, and be sure to join their Discord and give your own feedback. All of them will be linked below. Wow, look at that, 6 games for the price of 3. Now all these games deserve far more attention than they're currently getting, so what are you waiting for? Go and give them a try. All of them are linked below, and while you wait for them to install, why not check out this video about rocket jumping, and comment about how it doesn't have ultra kill in it, or better yet, the transition at 2 minutes that no one's talking about. Thanks for watching, fellas. Subscribe if you're a real one, and leave a like and a comment if you'd be interested in a second episode. Bye!